Hi friends, my name is Candy and this is Sweet Skeins, my knitting podcast. Sometimes we have crochet, but not today. But my 9th episode of me showing you my knits, what I'm working on, what I've finished, what I'm gonna start, what I've started, and just all kinds of all around good fun times on the internet. No stress, no stress. This is my kitty cat Piper. We'll see how long she lasts. I may kick her off the couch here, but she has a mind of her own, so we'll see. She's clearly starved for attention, so hi kitty. I do want to say, if you are new here, thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy it. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. I try and post these videos once a month, and this is my January wrap-up. I am recording this on January 31st, hopefully going to get this up this weekend, so you should have it early February. We'll see how much editing I do. I'm not interested in editing, so unless my coughing gets too bad, I will probably try and avoid it unless the cat does weird things, and I don't want to make any of y'all sick from camera shakes and stuff like that. So we'll limited, but some editing. I'll try and put some pictures up and stuff too as it applies, but we'll go ahead and get started with the, sorry, she's kneading, with my one and only finished object for the month. And that is behind me, my beautiful Anthology Throw, which is by Helen Stewart. It was a pattern that came out, I want to say in like 2022, maybe earlier than that. Don't quote me. But it is a pattern that has row by row instructions on when to change colors for a 24 mini skein advent. So, or you could use scraps or whatever. I used my 2024 Ruby and Roses advent. I showed this in the last podcast episode, but she is done now. She smells so woolly and wonderful. In the last episode, I was around here with my knitting, so I have finished the greens, went into a fun little speckle, and it kind of reminds me of a watermelon at the end, with the pale white backgrounded and then into the pinks and ending on red. So this is nice and wide, a nice little throw. I told my husband when I finished it that this throw will be going to work with me when our office remodel is done, because I don't trust the cat. I don't trim her claws regularly enough, and I just don't trust her to not get herself caught in it. I don't trust my kids to not spill something on it. I don't trust my husband. Love him, but don't trust him. And I don't want it to get anywhere near the dog, because again, the amount of time and effort that went into this, basically 200 hours of work, because I averaged 4 to 5 hours per color. So 24 colors times 4 to 5 hours is a good 200 hours. So yeah, we're not tempting fate. So she's done, she's glorious. I love her. I have pictures of it on my Instagram from my very crazy blocking. I mainly wanted her to stretch out and relax, because the increase rows, you basically double your stitches on those increase rows, so it had some rippling, and it is basically gone except for at the very edge, but that's, you know, you're gonna have that with the lace. I did divert from the pattern, and I mentioned this in my last podcast, so I'm going to try not to like rehash too much, but I did divert from the pattern in that I stopped following when it told me to change colors and just changed colors when I ran out. So I did end up adding 10 rows to the lace section, because I got to where it told me to bind off and I still had 3 colors left. So I did go ahead and add 10 additional lace rows in these colors here at the end. So this would normally be significantly shorter, which would still be gorgeous, but I did go ahead and add those rows so I could use up as much of this advent as possible. I have, according to my notes, 6.9 grams of yarn left, and 3 and some change is from the very first color because I did stop it as the pattern suggested. And then of the very last color, I have 3 and change grams because I would not be able to get another row. I would have played yarn chicken and lost. So I do have just shy of 7 grams left of the pretty pink here in the middle and of the like orangey red at the very end. But I consider that a win considering how big this is. All of my ends are woven in. I'm so proud of myself for that. And I'm going to just drape this around me. It's gonna be so wonderful. Even with the like the double yarn overs and then the eyelet rows, it's still gonna be a nice cozy extra layer to have in my office at work someday when they open the office back up. As of right now, that's late April, early May, but we will see. So that's my one finished object. We'll move on to whips. I have my notes over here, so if you see me looking over here, that's what I'm doing. Notes. Okay, so for active whips, we'll start with my Tolsta tank because it's on the list first. This did not see a ton of time, but I did work on it quite a bit. And actually, I frogged about 9-10 rows and reknit them, and then did about 9-10 more ish. We'll ballpark here. So first I will start with saying that this is Tolsta tank, my second one, and I am planning on doing the square neck, but I also reserve the right to change my mind and do the vest option. We'll decide when it comes time to do the bust shaping because that changes the stitch counts for things. So by like 1, but still. I'm using Cascade Ultra Pima Fine, which is 100% Pima cotton in the color Zen Green, I think. Just this nice, pretty, pale, sagey green is how I would describe it. It's sage green, but it's pale, pastel-y. And the reason I had to, I'm even in the middle of a row. So this marker, where it's hanging from, right here, is where I last podcast. And then I have knit from there up. And like I said, half of that, the first half, I ripped out and reknit because when I switched these from metal to wooden needles, I either on purpose with a thought behind it that failed or unintentionally, I don't remember now, went up to 3.5 millimeter needles because I was thinking that with wooden needles, it would be, my gauge would be tighter because it would be less slippery. Turns out I was wrong. I got those 9-10 rows in and it was noticeable that my gauge was bigger. So I picked up right below where I changed needles and frogged and picked them and put on the 3.25 US 3 needles instead, and my gauge is much more consistent now. There's still some wonkiness because it is 100% Pima cotton and those stitches just are not perfect, but looks much better than it did. And I will kind of keep plugging along on this. It's great for doctor's appointment knitting because it is plain stockinette in the round. As long as I don't split the yarn, things go smoothly. I'm adding 1 inch to the body, possibly 1.5 inches before I do the bust shaping / split for front back because I do like a little bit of extra length in my tank tops. So I'm probably a little over halfway at this point. I haven't actually measured it because I know I'm not there. But that is Tolsta tank number 2. Let's put this skein back. I need to go ahead and wind those up so they're ready for me. But anyways, move things as I'm done with them over there. All right, work in progress number 2 is my worsted Boxy by Hohi or Joji Locatelli. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. She's from South America. I forget the exact country as I'm speaking here, you know, pressure and all. So I know she speaks Spanish, and so that's why I want to say it's Hohi, but it could be Joji. I hear it pronounced both ways, so I'm not 100% sure. So regardless, this is the worsted Boxy. I am making the smallest size because that still gives me like 30 inches of positive ease, which is a lot. I've never made anything with that much positive ease before. I'm doing helical knitting to work my skeins to kind of I'm not worried about pooling because this is speckles and hand-dyed and it's gonna pool anyway. It'll just be spread out pooling. So I'm not worried about pooling, but just to like keep the lighter, I had a couple skeins that just looked visually lighter than others, and just to kind of help keep it from being too blocky by doing the helical knitting. And that's working really, really well for me. I have multiple stitch markers in here. So this pretty little princess right here is where I was when I last podcasted, not even a full month ago. So look at me go. And then this black one is where I was when I finished this blanket. I wanted to be able to differentiate like how much I got done before. So I did get quite a bit done before this blanket was even finished. And then from here to here is what I've done since the blanket. And then I had one right here for where I was at the beginning of this week. So on Monday, I like to do that just to kind of visually see how much I've done this week versus since I last podcasted, since those are a month, if not more, apart. But I'm just kind of knitting along, doing my helical knitting thing. I have a few more inches to go before I split for the front and back. I want to say I am around, we'll just measure. We'll just do a rough measurement while we're sitting here. I'm doing okay on time. It's all relative, really. Unless daycare calls, then I'm not doing okay on time. That's a tangent. Okay, I am at approximately 12 inches. Okay, so I still have, this tape measure doesn't love me. There it goes. Still have about 5 more inches to go according to the pattern. I'm not worried about it. It flies pretty quick. Just this week, I have done 2 inches. I did 5 inches since I finished the blanket, or 7 total, but yeah, so it's working up really, really quick. When I have to start purling because of the front and back, that'll slow me down a smidge, but at this loose gauge, I really don't think it'll be that bad. And then the sleeves are not that long because it's so oversized, you've got quite the drop. So I have completely finished one skein. I'm working from my second and third skeins, and I have 2 more available to me from there. So I'm doing great on that. Really looking forward to having this in the, I think even though it's worsted weight, it'll be great for that like early spring weather where it's chilly but it's not frigid, because it'll have that airflow from being such a loose gauge combined with how boxy and oversized it is. It'll be a great additional layer to just kind of have around. So both of these are Delicue bags. They were a gift from my mother, I believe. You can get them at a lot of different local yarn shops. You can get them from Jimmy Bean Wool, which has a storefront, but also big online website for ordering, and then Delicue directly. So I think this is the teal color. So that's what these are the Delicue, oh snap, bags. Okay, everybody, sorry for the change of scenery, but I got a call from my daughter's preschool / daycare, and I had to go get her. 3-year-olds are hard, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So I am recording many hours later to finish this. because I do want to get this recorded so I can edit it, so I can upload it. And so the lighting is not going to be great because we've got overhead lights, yellow light over here. My throat sounds a little worse, so I apologize for that. But if I want to get this done, I got to get it done at almost 9 o'clock at night. So at least the blanket got its glory in the better lighting. So that's good. I was done with my active whips as you knew them. And now I'm going to move on to my new cast-ons, which also are acquisitions. So I'm going to go new cast-ons straight into acquisitions and we'll wrap this up. So the first acquisition / cast-on is the January Boucle Blanket Club from a Homespun house. It is a DK weight base, 100% superwash merino, 240 meters, 245 yards for 100 grams. This is the January colorway called Copper. And again, the lighting is going to be horrible, but January colorway is called Copper. It also, I feel like, would be accurately described as rust, just kind of as a reference point. I haven't gotten very far. I had a little bit of yarn barf, so that's why some of the skein is wrapped around the cake. But just done a few rows. Nothing fancy. It's basically garter with some slip stitch edging going on. But yeah, so each month I'll be ordering. I think I've already ordered the February and March skeins, so I just have to wait for those to come. But it's a monthly club, one you have to actually go in and make your purchase for. It's not a subscription style service, so that's nice if you did want to skip a month for whatever reason. I don't plan to, but we'll see. So I got the January started, and as soon as I'm hoping I can get January knit up before the February skein arrives. It also came with a tea, which I went ahead and brewed because of my throat. It's a Mediterranean peach. It's in German, so I don't know if that's even going to be a thing for anybody to be able to read, but the dyer is based out of Germany, so it being a German tea makes sense. It's pretty tasty. So that's new cast on number 1. It's going to be a very long-term project. It's a monthly club, so it should go the full year. So that is cast on number 1, like I said. An acquisition, one of many. Next cast on is also barely started. And this wool stinks. It stinks like wool. Like it's just the woof that came out of this bag. So first, this whole bag was the acquisition. I got 7 skeins of Emma's yarn. Again, my lighting's going to be horrible, but to kind of give you an idea, it's the Simply Spectacular DK by Emma's Yarn in the colorway Mexican Wedding Dress. This is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon base, 255 yards to 100 grams. Here it is in cake form. And I will say I swatched and then frogged my swatch. So that's what's going on here. And I have just barely gotten it started. This pattern is All of the Lights by Locatelli, Joji Locatelli. We had this when I was talking about my already existing with. But yeah, we have the start of a right shoulder. Not very far. I don't expect to get this done very quickly, simply because this is a highly cabled knit. Highly cabled. Just to, like, it's cables, it's lace. So a lot of attention and focus is required when working on this, and I only have time for that while my kids are sleeping. So therefore, I have a short amount of time where I'm awake enough to work on it before I'm too tired and need to just go to sleep or do something mindless. So it's not going to grow very fast, and that's okay. I'm completely okay with that. It's going to be beautiful. It's a longer cardigan, as you could kind of tell in that picture. And it'll be really lovely once it's going. So I will try and put up like a picture as well of the yarn with better lighting, so you can get a better idea if you're not familiar with Emma's yarn and the Mexican wedding dress colorway. But yes, that was a very large acquisition from Eat Sleep Knit, and this project is a part of their yarnathon that they do every year. So I will let you read all about that on their website because there is way too much information and I don't want to get it wrong. But that is the second and last cast on I have. So now we're going to do just straight yarn acquisitions. I was a very bad girl. In February, I'm not allowed to buy yarn. I'm just not. I have enough. The only exception to that is if I get far enough on a project to figure out I do not have enough yarn and I can buy more of that same project's yarn to finish it. I don't foresee that happening in the month of February, but the other caveat is if the April Boucle Yarn Club listing goes live before the end of February, I will go ahead and order it simply because I don't want to miss that window and I don't know how long they're up for. So those are my exceptions to the no yarn in February. There's another exception. I'm going to a knitting retreat the 7th and 8th of February. Yarn may be purchased there. I'm honestly not expecting to, but I say that knowing that I'm probably going to come home with, I know I'm going to come home with yarn because it's part of like the retreat, but that's already paid for. Whether I buy additional yarn is to be determined. I'm telling myself I need to have a project in mind for the yarn I purchase, or I shouldn't buy it because I have so much I need to work from stash. But I also reserve the right to have that be another exception to my no by February. We'll see how things go. So, first on my list, again, sorry for the clearing of my throat and the sound of my voice. This lovely southern Indiana weather we're having is just wreaking havoc. So the first on my notes of acquisitions, it was not my first purchase of February or January, but it's the first on my list, is from Junction Fiber Mill. I got their Valentine's bundle, present to me from me. My husband and I don't really do Valentine's Day like that. We make sure we spend time together, but he's going to have to work. So it came with this QR code might get in the way. It came with a pattern recommendation for the yarn. And they sent 2 stickers. Junction Fiber Mill, like I said. I watched their podcast, Millcast. They call it a Millcast. And they had a Valentine's bundle of their, which this is their Making Tracks. It's 100% American wool, so it's not superwash. 200 yards for a heavy DK weight. I would honestly consider that worsted weight, but I think it's just because that's traditionally more worsted weight yardage. But these are approximately 100 gram skeins, I believe. The pink is their colorway Pink Pony Club. And then the white, you can see it does have some touches of pink, even in my crummy lighting. This one is called Popular. Popular. So these would be great for a brioche, whatever, probably a cowl, because whether I do the one that they sent the pattern suggestion for or another one I already kind of have in my possession is to be determined, but same general concept applies. It's going to be glorious brioche, right? Just glorious. Okay. Anyways, but this Valentine's bundle also came with, and they sent it in this cute bag. We will rock you. I love it. So cute. Bags happen to me. I don't have to buy them. They happen to me. I should know better. But it also came with hot cocoa in this bundle. So they talked about this company on one of their milk casts. So they included it in the bundle and I love it. So, well, I haven't actually tried this, but everything I heard about this company sounds amazing. They are very passionate about the quality of the product, the ingredients used in the product, how it's made, everything. So I'm looking forward to trying this. I didn't want to open it until after I had recorded this because I didn't want to be making a mess after having opened it, but it is resealable, so that's exciting. But yes, that is my Junction Fiber Mill purchase, their Valentine's Day bundle. And in my description, the show notes, the description down below, there's going to be a link for a discount code. It will give you a discount and it will give me a store credit. So win-win for everybody if you choose to use it. Thank you in advance. So that's one of the acquisitions. Next, I hinted at this before in my last podcast. I had the original skein of, it's called Villager by Ruby and Roses, which is the full skein that came with the Advent that the blanket was made from. So I had the one skein, but I knew I wanted to make a Doppio. So I ordered and have received, and I wrote on my labels a number 2. So that way I knew that these two were dyed together. And I will use these two first for the Doppio, and then if I do need to tap into a third skein, I'll use the original. I'm not expecting to need a third skein unless I'm adding length, which I usually do with sweaters. So, but yeah, I did go ahead and order 2 because I figure this has nylon in it. I can always use a single skein as socks or gift it to somebody who knits socks if I never get around to knitting into socks. But anyways, this is part 1 of my Doppio. I placed an order from Jimmy Bean's Wool for part 2 of the Doppio, and I got Sunday, Sandnes Garn Sunday, in the color Putty, or 1015, and I got 3 skeins of that. So it's a nice pale gray beige color. And then I ordered from Mercerie, which is a shop kind of out where I'm from, but not really. They're in Bainbridge, Washington, and I'm from even further west than that, but the Mohair. And I opted for this very pale pink, which it's the colorway very light pink from Biches and Bûches. Biches and Bûches. It's Italian, made in Italy. Le Petit silk and mohair. It's 30% silk, 70% super kid mohair. See if that maybe focuses. But that's the brand. I'm probably slaughtering its pronunciation. I did 4 because when I did the yardage for my size on the Doppio, I was going to need every bit of 3 and then some. So I did order 4. I did not want to be playing Mohair chicken like I did with my Pink Fizz, because I would have to wait and order more, because I don't know of a shop locally to me that carries this, let alone would have the same dye lot. So I did get those. So my Doppio is going to be and this is where I wish my lighting was better, but I really think I'm gonna have to swatch it to see it, but I think that's just gonna be great. I'll take a picture and put it up so you can see better lighting, but I really think that's gonna be so, so pretty. And it'll be probably the next thing I cast on, frankly. So that's obviously some substantial acquisitions here. Last but not least, a single skein of Elysian by Cascade Yarns, Elysian 6. It is 60% superwash merino and 40% acrylic. This hopped along for the ride with the Sunday from Jimmy Bean's Wool. However, whatever. This is a worsted weight. 100 grams gets you 145 yards. It's a dense worsted weight, more like Aaron. Because it just seemed like a good color for my son for a hat. The colorway is honey mustard. I wrote it on here because it just says color number 65. So, again, I'll try to remember to put pretty pictures of the yarn since my lighting is not so great, but that's just kind of a one-off. I think it'll be a good hat color for my son or my daughter. One of them, both of them, I don't know. They kind of have roughly the same size head right now, so they could interchange hats. But that is all my acquisitions. That is all my projects. Thank you all for bearing with me if you've made it this far. If you have made it this far, please give this video a like and a subscribe so you can check out more videos from me with this type of content. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments down below. Things you liked, things you would like to see, any questions you may have. I'm happy to answer them in the comments or privately. But I do want to thank you again for watching. Happy knitting, and I'll see you again next time. Bye, friends.